introduce our speakers today. We have the House side and the Senate side. So going to start with our Senate. We have Senator Richard Cash, Senator Mike Gambrell, and then on the representative side, Representative Jay West, Representative Don Chapman, and Representative Thomas Beach. So we're excited to have all of you guys with us. Without further delay, we didn't do a sponsor today so that we could have extra time for all of you to talk. So I'm going to start at the Senate side, and I think we'll just have you come up to the lectern because I know Greg said it would film better. You'd get better sound if you did. So we'd love each one of you to come up, talk about the different committees you're on, what you're looking to pose forward for legislation this year, and anything that didn't get accomplished last year that you're pushing forward. Or any bills that you're signing on to or ones that you've put forward. We're excited to hear from all of you today. So we'll start with the Senate side. Senator Cash.
Okay. I'm Richard Cash. I represent the 3rd District, which is generally speaking the top half of Anderson County. I was elected in a special election in 2017, and I am running for re-election this year. I will just mention a number of bills that are going to be dealt with in the Senate. They're all pretty high profile. Some of them are going to be pretty contentious. But the first one I'll just mention is tort reform. We've heard some lately about venues that serve alcoholic beverages having problems getting insurance for their business. And I will just tell you up front, I don't think the problem is requiring insurance, okay? I think the problem is on the tort reform side of things, where a business that could be found 10% liable for a judgment could end up paying 50% more of the judgment because other people who were found liable didn't have insurance or the means to pay their portion of the judgment. I own a rental property business. I have $2 million of general liability. I wouldn't consider having less. I mean, it just doesn't take much to find yourself in trouble. Judicial reform is a topic that is rising to the top. I think in the next gubernatorial election, judicial reform is going to be a pretty hot topic. It's multifaceted, the different things we could try to do, but I think from my perspective, and I hope from the House's perspective, that we can do something this year. The majority leaders proposed a bill that has most of the Republicans in the Senate co-sponsored, and it's going to be the simplest reform, which is simply to remove the limit of 3 candidates that can come out of the Judicial Screening Committee. In other words, if they find 5 qualified, they'd send all 5 to us. Instead of right now, it's limited to just 3. I think that's the simplest reform we can make. It's certainly one I hope that we can get done. There's several bills that are high profile, controversial. We will be taking up a bill on transgender policy and law concerning minors in South Carolina. I believe the bill's coming through the House now, and the basic framework of the bill is that for minors, it would make it unlawful to provide or prescribe puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones or any kind of surgical procedures for the purposes of gender transition. So that's the basic outline of the bill. I'm in support of the bill. I was co-sponsor in the Senate. I was the subcommittee chairman on that bill. And it was a very emotionally charged hearing, but nevertheless, it's something that cannot be dodged, and I believe we will be taking that up. We're going to take up a gun bill, I believe, constitutional carry. This is something that's been, I would say, coming for a long time. It's already through the House. I believe we will take it up in the Senate. Let me just say this about constitutional carry. I'm going to vote for the bill. That's the way I've campaigned all the way back to 2017. You know, when you have a constitutional issue, what you're trying to do is go to the Constitution and try to figure out how it speaks to that. And I will simply say I would rather be debating and arguing about what the Constitution says than what your personal feelings on the subject are when we're dealing with something that is almost strictly a constitutional issue. And I'm not going to say that the Constitution mandates that we would have to have constitutional carry, but I would certainly argue that it allows for constitutional carry, and that's the way I will be voting. The last thing I'm going to mention briefly is I think it's quite likely that we will take up medical marijuana. We have had this bill on the floor before. We passed it out of the Senate once. When this bill first came around, I got a number of contacts about it, and I'm sure I'll get a number of contacts this time as well. And I told everybody the same thing. I said, I'm going to take a very close look at the bill, but I don't know how I'm going to vote till I know what the bill is going to actually end up saying. Okay? Now, it's a complicated bill. The bill was 70 pages long the first time we took it up. I'm on medical affairs, so I spent many, many hours studying this bill, listening to testimony. And I really didn't make up my mind till the last day, and I did end up voting on the bill and voting in favor of it. Now, I can only say that I don't know what I will do this time around. I'll just say what I said the last time, which is I probably won't know how I'm going to vote till I see the bill in its final form, because it's a kind of a bill where there will be lots of amendments offered. I personally passed over 20 amendments to the bill when it came through the Senate, which is the most I've ever amended any bill. But anyway, I know a lot on both sides of that argument, but I do think we're going to be dealing with that. So it's going to be a busy 4 months because this is the second year of the session. So whatever's on the calendar there, it's got to be done by the time we adjourn in May, or else it has to start over next year. So that's just kind of a brief outline of the things I see coming and where I stand on them. Thank you very much.
So my name's Mike Gambrell. I'm beginning my 8th year in the Senate after serving for 10 years in the House. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. Some days it seems like it's been a lot longer than that. But like I say, we've got some things coming up in the Senate. In the Senate, every senator serves on 5 committees. I serve on, see if I can get them right, Medical Affairs, Veterans and Family Services, Labor, Commerce and Industry. Who am I leaving off?
Finance.
Well, I was going to say that the last, but anyway, there's another one. Business and banking and insurance, of which I'm a sub-chair of the banking subcommittee and also a sub-chair of the environmental subcommittee on medical affairs. Now, how in the world environmental issues got put onto medical affairs, I have no idea. That's above my pay grade, but anyway, that's what we do. We've got good members of those committees. Richard and I serve together on several committees. We back and forth. Time is of the essence. After serving for 10 years in the House, the only way I can compare how busy that we are with meetings and things going on is being a standing committee chair in the House. There every hour of the day we've got somebody. For those of you that do, those of you that have called my office, you've talked to a lady named Kathy Marsh. Kathy is one of the best legislative aides in the Senate. She's beginning her 50th year this year. She's forgot more about the Senate than I'll ever know. But anyway, her number one thing that we drive in our office is constituent service. And if Kathy can't get you an answer, there's no answer. Every year when we start the legislative session, the papers call, the folks call, and they want to know what is your number one priority. Well, for the last 18 years, it's been the same for me. It's constituent service. You call us with a problem, and we can get you an answer from somebody that knows what the answer is. Not always the answer you want to hear, but we'll get you the answer. That's the least we can do. And I think that's the key to what we can do. And I think, sadly, that may be going away a little bit, but we need to get back to that. That's as grassroots as it gets. right there, because my predecessor, Billy Odell, had the wonderful gift of somebody that would call him or walk up to him with an issue. He had the unique gift, and it is a gift, of making those people, they were the most important thing on his radar right then when they were talking. And when they're talking to us, it is the most important thing in their life right then. And we owe them the time to do things. I did bring up, I do serve on finance. To show you how time goes by, I was number 46 out of 46 senators when I was elected in May of 2016. I'm now 26. So and they say things don't move fast in the Senate. Well, some things do. But we've been fortunate in Anderson County. We've got another good budget year coming up. We're going to have a surplus again. Our state's humming, y'all. It's just, and it's to you folks out here that make it go in the right direction. The business folks here in the community, and also I'd like to commend our city governments and our county governments. Folks, Anderson County, this stuff doesn't just happen. And what happens, it makes it a lot easier and a lot easier sale when everybody's pulling in the same direction. And I can honestly say that with county government and city government and the delegation and even our federal delegation, when you're pulling in the same direction, it makes our job a lot easier. We've been lucky. Where's Dyke Spencer? I saw Dyke somewhere. Did he eat and leave? Anyway, we were fortunate to get some ARPA money this year. We were able to bring, I serve on the Rural Infrastructure Authority, which deals with water and sewer. We brought $10 million back to Pottersville Water. We brought $5 million back to Belton Honey Path Water Company. We brought $10 million to West Anderson Water Company, $8 million to Star and Iva. I don't know if Patrick's here. And also, I think City of Belton, $4 million? Close enough. But close enough for government accounting. But and we were also able to bring $3 million to the town of Honey Path and all our surrounding areas. And whatever how you feel about federal money, this was generational type funds that came our way. And especially, and I represent the southern part of Anderson County and all of Abel County now. And like I say, this is generational money that we could have never raised. And it's going to make a difference because water, sewer, with our friends at AT&T and our friends at WC Tel, we're now having internet service provided in a lot of the lower part of the county. This internet service is going to be like water and sewer. It's just that important because everything works to it. But we've been able to bring some money back to our local area. Efforts of Representative Beach, we were able to get a good allotment for Dolly Cooper Park. It's going to go a long way towards public safety up there. Also, we've brought some other things back that we were able to do. And, this is bringing money back to the taxpayer. Maybe not, you're not going to get a check for $50, but this is something that everybody can enjoy. And that's truly bringing money back. But we also have I think the House is starting their budget procedure right now. They're already having meetings. And the way the budget works, the budget will start in the House. They'll pass it probably in March. Jay, when's your budget? March is your budget week. Then it'll come to us, and the process starts all over again. We have subcommittee meetings. They all have to come before us again to justify what they're asking for. And then we'll vote on the budget probably about the last week of April or the first week of May, usually. And then we never agree. So those differences are sorted out in what we call a conference committee. The conference committee is 3 senators and 3 House members. And they hammer out the differences, and then they bring it back to each body. And each body still has to vote on it. And here's where South Carolina's got a leg up on other states. The budget, before we can give the budget third reading in either house, it's got to be certified that it's in balance by an independent accountant. A lot of states don't do that, and I think you see some of the shape they're in. Our budget's about $15 billion. When I first started in 2006, it was $5 billion. But that one thing right there that makes us balance our budget before we vote on it is those folks were very smart that wrote our Constitution. Because a lot of states have deficits that are more than our budget, our entire budget. We don't have that in South Carolina. If for some reason Hugo 2 or whatever comes ashore in Charleston and the budget gets out of balance, it can only be out of balance for, I think it's 3 legislative days. We'll have to actually be called back into session, and we either find money or we make cuts. And after 2008, I've been through that process, and I don't want to ever go through it again. The one thing that we did address after 2008, we have at least doubled what we put back in, we call our rainy day funds, our reserve funds. We get beat up a lot by people that say, well, they count that as spending. Well, when I put money in my savings account at Commercial Bank, that's not spending. That's a savings account. And that's what we do on the state level. So we're in very good shape should the economy take a downturn, much better shape than we were in '08. And I think you can have confidence in that. But like I say, enjoy what I do. I appreciate Pam. Congratulations on being the new chairman of, as Richard said, on the DOT commission. You'll do a fine job. And I think everybody knows Christy Hall will be retiring March 31st. Justin Powell's got big shoes to fill. And boy, I mean big shoes to fill. But Christy's done a wonderful job in a real tough organization. And we'll miss her service. We thank her for her service. And we look forward to Justin. Well, the way it works, the board voted, I think, last week, Wednesday, on Justin to be the next director. He'll have to come through a confirmation process in the Senate, and then we send it on to the governor. But we look forward to doing that. I've already got meetings scheduled with Justin. But that's the way that process will work. And like I say, thank you so much for getting up early and coming out and listening to us this morning. And thank you very much.
Mr. Gambrell. So I appreciate so much that you look at things on the federal level to try to get us funding here, and we appreciate that. Tell you, anytime there's funds that are available at the federal level that's going to help our community, I really think people should go for it, and I greatly appreciate that you do that. So thank you for all of us. Additionally, I just would like to say, you know, I've known the delegation since I was here in 2014, and I did know Senator Odell. He was an amazing man. I don't know if y'all remember that, but we actually had a legislative delegation meeting at Toast Topics, and he wasn't there. And I was asking, you know, the group, well, should we wait? And Senator Gambrell said, Pam, something's got to be wrong. He must have had an accident or something. I'll keep trying to get him. He said he doesn't ever come late, and he always shows up to what he says he's going to do. And he passed away that morning. Senator Gambrell called and said, I just want you to know the reason he wasn't there is that he passed away. So really miss him, but I'll tell you, he wouldn't have wanted anybody else to fill his shoes but Senator Gambrell. So glad that opportunity for you. Now for our House side, I think we'll just go, if that's okay with everybody, by last name. So Representative Beach, we will start with you, sir.
My name's Thomas Beach. I'm a representative for House District 10, which covers the Powdersville area. My district covers parts of Easley County, Greenwood County, and Anderson County, and I live in Piedmont. Ms. Pam, I want to congratulate you, and I know you're going to do a wonderful job at the Department of Transportation. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that you're all busy, and I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to come here and listen to some politicians. And I don't take that lightly. It's you're all doing the hard work, and you're here to make sure we're behaving. And so I just wanted to say I appreciate what all you all do for our community. I know that I'm a little bit of an unknown, and so to make it real simple, I just want to share with you real quickly my political philosophy. And so how do I know what's a good law and a bad law? And I'm pretty predictable, actually. And so when I go to vote, I look at the legislation or the amendment or the bill, whatever it is, and I weigh and measure against the three natural rights, inalienable rights that our Creator has given us. I strongly, firmly believe with all my heart that you have the rights, everybody here have the rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. So if there's legislation that takes away those rights, or one of them, I'm going to fight it. Vice versa, if it does provide life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, I will be for it. Now, that's not just words and hyperbole. This is my compass. This is how I legislate. This is how I know what's good or bad. I hope that explains why I am a conservative. Matter of fact, CPAC just came out with a scorecard and gave me a 100% A plus rating on conservative excellence. So that's my philosophy, and I sit on the 3M committee, the municipality, military, and medical, and my subcommittee is the medical subcommittee, and you know, we were talking a little bit about medical marijuana. So how I would look at that is, does this protect your three inalienable rights? If you ask a physician, does medical marijuana help their patients who might have cancer or some other condition? Well, that might be able to provide them with that three inalienable rights. Now, we have to be careful because I don't want to become like California or Colorado. You know, we do have medical professionals, doctors, and we do have pharmacies. And so we have to be very, very careful. But I won't make a decision until I see the full bill. There's two pieces of legislation that, well, I've written several, a lot of different bills. But my heart is behind two bills. And the first one is 3616, which is the Defense of Children's Innocence Act. This is tackling public drag queen shows with children that are involved. Now, we're all free Americans. Once you get to a certain age, you know, I might not agree with that lifestyle, but you're a free American. You can go do what you feel like you're going to go do with your buddies. And you shouldn't be punished about that. And I didn't want to punish Shakespeare in the park. You know, you do have men in women's drab doing Shakespeare. I didn't want to punish police officers or hospitals raising money for their causes. So I wanted to protect people's individual freedoms. And so it was tricky writing up this legislation, because how do you tackle drag queen shows? And so what I did was I had three different parts, and the linchpin of this bill is the word "and." So you have a drag queen show. Then that by itself is not illegal. You have very lewd, explicit, sexualized. Those two together, it's not illegal. But if you add children into the mix, now you cross the line. You wouldn't go to a strip club and see children there, would you? Well, that's the same idea. And I'm really wanting to get this done because I've received footage from across the state, about 6 minutes of video footage. I saw a child on stage where this performer used a microphone as a penis and against the child's head. One child was asked, "Are you having a good time?" And she cries out, "No, I want to go home." You hurt our child. My blood boils. And I want to kick some doors down and do something about it. So, House Bill 3616 is very important to me. The other bill that I have is called, it's 4811. It's income tax exemption for people that work over 40 hours. When you do an overtime, you shouldn't be paying taxes. I've been in positions where, you know, as a father, when babies and wife are depending on you to provide, and sometimes it's really hard. No one likes to work because it's fun. It's because we have to do it to make ends meet. And so, when people work overtime, I don't think they should have to pay taxes on that overtime. So that's very important to me. You can see I'm pretty emotional. I get hot and bothered when I talk about kids getting hurt. I apologize. But I'm Thomas Beach, and thank you for your time.
My name is Don Chapman. I represent District 8, which is the western side of Anderson County. My wife and I, Amy, we live on Lake Hartwell in the Double Springs community, and we get to enjoy the beautiful lake views, or at least right now I do 4 days a week as I'm down in Columbia. But I was appointed to the Ag Committee, which also is the Natural Resources and Environmental Affairs. As an architect, I tend to, those are some of the things that were really close to me. But I also, the House members always get appointed to one committee, and then they get appointed to one subcommittee. And then the subcommittee that I signed up for was the Rules Committee, which Representative Thayer is the chairman. I felt like the best way as a freshman legislator was to learn the rules by being on the Rules Committee. I mean, that seems pretty logical, but the thing that I'm also real excited about, I was one of the few freshmen that were selected for a new committee, which was the Artificial Intelligence, Cybersecurity, and Cyber Crimes Committee. And this committee is the first committee, State House committee in the United States to ever have this committee formed, which I think is very important because all of y'all know that the cybersecurity and AI is growing exponentially, and we need to get a hold of it and figure out how it's going to move us forward and how it can hurt us. So I'm super excited about that particular committee. I will tell you, I was one of 3 freshmen to the delegation. I took a slightly different approach than my other 2 freshmen. I went there with 2 ears and 1 mouth. I really went in there to listen and learn and figure out what's what, because I'm new to it. I mean, I do feel like though that my nearly 14 years on city council and my nearly 30 years, or now 30 years as of this month, as a 30-year business owner and in architecture and construction, it's about building relationships. And to me, that's paramount to getting things done and how you want to progress, in my view, good conservative policies forward. So you have to build a consensus, whether it be in your businesses that each of you are involved in. You have to build a consensus to get your ideas moved forward. And I felt like that's what I needed to do in government. So it worked well in city council. It's worked well in my business that Amy and I have built over the years. And I truly feel like that's a strong way to move things forward. Some of the legislation that I think that was key that I was a part of and was co-signed or sponsored was the Human Protection Life Act, constitutional carry. I did remove mine before I came in, but I've carried for probably 35 years now. So I believe that's a constitutional right. I've always believed that any gun laws, most gun laws, typically only affect the law-abiding gun owner. I just truly believe that. Having 2 brothers in law enforcement with a combined 45 years service, I saw the daily things that they went through with criminals, and they would literally arrest somebody, and before they ended their shift, they would already be back out and possibly even being rearrested. So public safety and with our police, fire, and EMS, I have been an advocate for since my very first day on city council when I did that. And I believe a lot of us here don't truly understand the value, and even like our volunteer fire departments make to our community. So that's a key component is supporting our public safety financially and in many other ways. Some of the other things that I think were kind of key this year there was a bill called Gavin's Law. Some of you may know about it. It was one of our fellow freshmen. His son was targeted, basically was extorted sexually through photographs, and he felt like there was no way out and committed suicide. And so this law makes those crimes that we're tougher across the board on anything relating to vulnerable adults and our children. So again, another cybersecurity thing that we need to address, because that's again a big topic. You're going to hear more and more about that over the next year because it's a major topic. Some of the other things, obviously, trafficking in fentanyl, I was a big supporter of, to make sure that we crack down on those individuals that are peddling that poison. Violent crimes committed while on bond, again, another major thing of the criminals, basically getting out on bond and then creating crimes while they're out on bond, which shouldn't be happening. I mean, I think we would all agree. Some of the new legislation that's moving forward that I support hands-free driving, or hands-free distracted, so that you're not hands-free driving, because you may can do that, but in some regards, but distracted driving, because I think some of y'all may know that I started my career very early volunteering for the Anderson Rescue Squad. And, I remember back then, at the age of 14, people were distracted driving, that we went to many accidents that where people were either eating, or, it was early with cell phones weren't invented yet. But I think that has become the new almost DUI, because people literally are on their phones texting. And 2 years ago, we had somebody right in front of our office on Highway 24, basically a 4-lane road with a center median, and a bicyclist was hit, and the person never stopped. And fortunately, she survived. But I truly feel like that person was probably either texting or somehow was distracted. So that's a real important bill that I think we need to get passed in South Carolina. Some of the other things are anything to deal with cyber crimes that are going to be against our children, our vulnerable adults, and then there's also some legislation that came forth with that we moved forward about the residential builder's license, which I'm a residential builder and architect, and those licenses have not been updated for I think 25 years, and so that was something that I moved forward. And then lastly, I'll leave you with one particular bill that I'm going to move forward is H 3742, which is, if y'all have never heard of it, it's a bill. It's a drug called kratom. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of that, but you can buy it in convenience stores. It basically has the same effect, as they said, as an opioid. But you can buy it in a convenience store. Somebody can literally walk into a convenience store and take that, and it has the same effects as an opioid. And if you'll notice in a lot of the smoke shops, you'll see it. It's in neon letters, and it'll say that we offer kratom. Right now, I have several letters from parents and even children of the parents who were hooked on it, who died from it. And, when autopsies were brought in, that was the only drug that was in their system. I do have a close friend. Their son was started it when they were probably 16. And you start off taking 2 pills, and then you build up a tolerance to it. You take 4, and then you take 6, and you take 8. And, and pretty long, for long, you're taking 10 and 12 pills. And so he was basically hooked on it and had to go to treatment for it. And so this particular bill makes it a Schedule 4 drug. So it's not eliminating it, because there are some benefits, with just like many drugs, but this would be a drug that you would have to have prescribed by your doctor. So that's something I feel passionate about. But I'll leave you with this: is that as far as how I look at legislation and whether or not something has good conservative meets my good conservative values, and my wife's, I look at these bills, and so we get these kind of synopsis of all the bills that are to pre-file. And when I get these, I have a system where I color code the tabs because there's a whole bunch of them. I mean, there's usually 3 or 4 on a page. And so what I do is I go through and read each of the synopses, tag it if it sounds like something it's important to me, and has good conservative values. And then I say, all right, now what you have to do is just that synopsis. You have to be careful because just the heading is not actually what the bill could actually be. So then you have to go in and you have to read in detail, on the web. We've got an access to all these bills, and we read the fine detail. And as an architect, details matter. Very, very important. And so I go through and then highlight. And some of these bills, because I'm not an attorney, some of them I have to read 2 and 3 times because you have to kind of highlight the areas that are specific, and then you have to. And then once I check through all those and I sign my name to those, then I go to the committee meetings. There's usually the public hearing where any of y'all can come in and speak about a particular bill. You come to the committee hearings, and then I'll listen. That's where I ask questions. If I have an opportunity to offer an amendment, that's where I do that. And then if it makes it out of the committee or a subcommittee, then it goes to the committee, and then it goes to the House floor. And from there, is where we discuss and debate the bill, sometimes for many, many hours. And there's a variety of amendments that are offered because I truly do believe that there are sometimes when you're listening to the debate, you understand even more detail, and you say, okay, well, I think I could offer this amendment because I believe it will not be duplicitous, or it will not be, in some cases, when we were doing the abortion bill, what I considered to be absurd amendments. We did over 1,000 amendments on the floor, which about half of them, I believe, were thrown out because they were duplicitous, or there's a rule that they can be thrown out if they're absurd. So those type of things is how I get the detail and how I figure out what I believe is good legislation. So with that, thank you very much for being here, and y'all have a great day.
And Pam, congratulations on being the chairman of the SCDOT. That's a big deal for us and for this part of the state. I know you'll do a good job. You do a good job with the chamber. So anyway, I'm not going to take too long. I'm going to give you a bit of an update on where we are and what we're doing right now. I'm Jay West, the Assistant Majority Leader of the House Republican Caucus. As well, I am on LCI as First Vice Chairman and Chairman of the Public Utilities Subcommittee, and also chair the Committee on Economic Development and Utility Modernization, which is quite a big deal this year. You may not understand this or know this. If you're Duke Energy and you're here, or you're a co-op like Grayson and those guys, you definitely get this. Generation is a big deal for South Carolina right now. Being able to generate enough electricity moving forward for industry, but also for you. We have a lot of people moving in. We're going to have to manage that in a way that we're able to actually provide in phases to get us where we need to be. There are a lot of exterior marketing companies out there and energy providers that want us to build a lot of different new things. My personal opinion is South Carolina cannot be an experiment for other states. There's no way that we can do that. And I honestly, I don't want anything coming out of our committee that would actually allow us to do that. So we're going to take an all of the above approach. We're going to deal with things the way they are. If you compare us to North Carolina, A lot of people are concerned that we're still burning coal in two of our IOUs. Well, really one of the IOUs, 2 plants. But, you know, retiring coal is not necessarily always the best thing unless you have something cleaner to replace it with. And if you go in and you shut down the coal plants in those 2 areas, you reduce the base load, right? You absolutely reduce it. What happens to that coal? I'm not sure you've accomplished any greener energy by doing this, because all that's going to happen is the provider of that coal, whether it's West Virginia or somebody else, they're going to ship that coal to India or China, and I can promise you they're probably not using baggers and scrubbers and cleaners like we're doing to keep it clean. So we'll probably eventually move from coal, but it's not going to be an episodic event. It's going to be a process. I think what you're going to see in the next several years is a lot of natural gas generation throughout South Carolina. We'll be closing a natural gas loop in the PD. You'll see us take the pressured firm commitments that we have and begin to expand those. And so hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of good things done with that. I know Senator Davis has a bill in the Senate right now. They're going to have some hearings. You know, we'll just see where we come out on that. He and I have worked very closely on this. I think we come at it from very different angles. Again, I just do not believe that we should be the experimental state. I do think eventually, as a state, we'll move to small modular nuclear reactors, which essentially fit on a football field, and you're able to generate quite a bit of electricity, even thousands of megawatts, and they're scalable. So we'll see. I think that's kind of the policy we're going to end up coming up with. For those of you with businesses, last year our committee put out a bill for workforce development. We moved the workforce development efforts from Department of Commerce over to Department of Employment and Workforce. That's where folks who are unemployed go to get their benefits. So it seems like a natural fit. What we're working on right now with DO, SC is that there will be an app on every kid's phone, parent, teacher, guidance counselor. Essentially, you touch that app, it pops up, it shows you every available job in that immediate area. What the job is, what it pays, what the credentials and criteria are to apply for that job. If you don't have the credentials and criteria, where to go get them. We have great technical college systems all over this state. You can go get them there, and any scholarships that may be available for you. This is also important for people being re-educated into the marketplace. They can do the same thing. If you're interested in a region, you can click the region and do the same thing. The second thing of that we put together was an opportunity. We have a lot of mothers who are at home and don't know how to get back into the workforce, and they may be single mothers, or you may have families who are struggling to find a way to get back into the workforce. Believe it or not, child care is an extraordinary expense for people right now. I mean, it's almost choosing to go to work or stay home and take care of your child. So we're looking at an app that will actually take people who are on public assistance or subsistence, show them how they can move back into the workplace with all the formulations and what they would get to be able to do that, again, with the resources available to get them there. The goal is to get them back into the workforce. 2 bills, or 3, that I have going in this year that I think are important is they're writing it right now. I had to go through the approval process pretty much, but I'm putting in a bill to reduce your BPP taxes on your small business by 20%. So your first 20% of your BPP will be exempted from taxes at the end of the year. So if you're carrying inventory, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, that kind of thing, and you get to the end of the year, the first 20, hopefully, it could go down to 10. I mean, that was one idea. But we will backfill that from the state because we have an overage of recurring funds. We'll backfill the state back to the counties. I know you're sitting there wondering, we're going to lose all that. No, you're not. But it's a way that we can help the small businesses in this state. We've done a lot for the larger corporations and the recruitment of it. So that's in the process. So hopefully you'll get a 20% reduction or exemption on your first portion of that. Senator Gambrell and I have been working together on the homestead exemption of moving that up from 50% to 70 or 50 to 75,000, right? And we've identified funding that's already there so that we would be able to do that. So I'm kind of hoping that's coming for all of you. I want to thank the county, Treasurer Jason Phillips, and Steve. Steve, stand up one minute. Stand. I know. You're like me. We're not the best looking people in the world, but you have no idea what this fella does for Anderson County. It is absolutely, it really is. I mean, we don't come up with a lot of these ideas. Steve does. And Steve writes all these grants to help our small towns and communities and the county and everybody else. So you deserve that hand of applause, pal. So I think between a lot of those things, we're going to be able to get a lot of things done. Knee deep, waist deep in the economic development process, I think it's time for us to begin to plan for more than 2 years down the road. I think we've done that a while now from the state perspective, and I think we have to start looking on return on investment. I am not a fan of data centers, I can tell you that. Data centers come into areas like Google is building in Dorchester County. They'll provide them a tax base, but they're going to provide 5 jobs, and they're going to suck out 200 megawatts of electricity as an industry. That, where's the return on investment there? So I think we got to look at that. We've got to look at more targeted recruitment for companies wanting it to come into our state and placement in sites where they may be. We're very fortunate in Anderson County. Greenville's pretty much hit capacity. Spartanburg's starting to overflow. We've been very hot. So, I think we're good. I think we need to look at some of the targeted areas in the state, near interstates, and begin to highlight some of those areas to, bring into them companies that can provide a solid tax base. But that's all I have. Thank you for everything that you do. Steve, again, thank you for everything that you do. We appreciate you. Burris Nelson, all that you do, we appreciate it. And to our mayors and council people here, my sister from another mother, Eleanor Dorn, y'all don't know this, but we were born in the same hospital, in the same hospital room. She is the 28th. I am the 29th. She's actually older. But it's only by hours, and our mothers were best friends. So how about that?
So first of all, I've had the pleasure of working with all of them, and I will say, I think people don't understand that they do not make a great deal of money. It's a very little bit of money, but what they do and their dedication to our communities and our county is amazing. And they don't do it because it makes a lot of money. They do it because they care about our county. They care about our people, and they want to make a difference, and they are making a difference. So help me give them a hand. I will go over a couple of things. So we would love to see and be happy to work with you, any of you that want to do something on this. So we're having a crisis in daycare. There's not enough daycare for people right now. We literally have people that we know that have been asking, can you help? And as soon as they find out they're pregnant, they are putting their name with every daycare facility. And we have one that's even in our office. Brandy has been doing this for her granddaughter, and it doesn't look like she's going to be able to get something for about 5 months. And the child's already born. And they did it as soon as they found out. They logged with everybody. And we're hearing from tons of people that say, I can't get a daycare. What do I do? So we need to do something in our county. I mean, I know, appreciative that Clemson did something, appreciative that Arthrex has done something, but we need to look at opportunities of what we can do, whether it be the liability that's a concern, or maybe look with, it's an opportunity with AMED and also Anderson University that has the nursing, that maybe we could have something where they could train and work at the daycares and find facilities that we could have to make daycare a reality. Because just like you talked about, so many people are moving here, and the majority are moving from up north here, and they're also looking for daycares. So there is a huge issue with that. So I'd love to get with any of you about that, see what we might be able to do and pull our heads together. Another thing is, and I appreciate that you're going to tackle that, Senator Cash, legal. So we're having a lot of issues with businesses that are just trying to fight things that even if it's not right, it's not true, there's nothing against them, they're still having to pay all these fees to fight it. And the legal ramifications they're having to come up with. I'm looking at one person I know that's had to deal with that themselves with their industry and knows what it does. It's really costing our taxpayers and our businesses a lot of money with these lawsuits that shouldn't even be coming their way. Another thing we like to look at is, I'll tell you across the board, our restaurants, our bars, our hotels are having a tremendous expense with beer and wine and liquor if they're serving that. It's gone up tremendously, and it's really running a lot of our businesses out of being able to do that. You're literally having some bars close their doors, restaurants considering closing their doors, and it is going to impact us in a huge way. It is literally even impacting chambers of commerce. So we really aren't allowed to serve beer and wine at our business after hours anymore. Any organization, if you're doing beer and wine, you better look at it, because you really can't serve that anymore because of all the ramifications, because none of us can afford what it's going to cost to do that. So we'd like for, yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely.
We had a bill last week come through a subcommittee on LCI, and it's basically, it's called captive insurance, which is your ability to self-insure. And it may be, we adjourned debate on the bill to see if there was a way to allow a large conglomeration of group to self-insure as captive insurance together, so that bars and those servers that are out there may be able to grow their volume of need and then self-insure under that. So that's a possibility we're looking at.
Good, and we appreciate that. If y'all continue to try to push those through, that's going to help our business community, because we're hearing that from a lot of them. I will also say, excited to have someone here from Upstate Chamber Coalition. They do a tremendous job for us. Will you stand real quick? They represent all 13 counties in the upstate. We actually all pay in for their services. So they do and go and lobby for us, 2 to 3 of them that do. While session's in, and we appreciate it. We all sit down, we talk to our business community, say what is the current needs that you have, and from that comes our legislative update and our legislative agenda for the year. So thank them for what they do. Thank you for being here. We'll make sure that we send that out and put it on our website. It'll probably be also the Upstate Chamber Coalition legislative agenda. We'll probably put it on our newsletter as well and on the website. Hope you go and look at that and be part of that as we're each year trying to look at what the agenda needs to be for the next year for us to pose for business. I also want to say, I believe Danielle Gibbs came in. Thank you. Danielle Gibbs is here. Sorry, I know she had something just prior, but she came in, slipped in a little bit back from U.S. Senator Tim Scott's office. And we appreciate everything you do. Again, these people do amazing, amazing things. I wanted to see, is Blake Sanders still here? Blake, is he here? No? Okay. If he's left, we'll talk about him later. But I tell you, Blake Sanders, I know, is going to be running, and I don't normally do this, but for Ann's seat. And I can't tell you the communities I've gone to. I've talked with senators, representatives, mayors, city councilmen, and also city managers. He has helped so many people across the state with planning and things that they're doing, and he's very well known at that level, and it really would be great to have someone with that kind of experience at that level with Ann's position. I don't think anybody else has said that they're running, but he does tremendous things already for our community and has for West Pelzer. So definitely want to do a shout out to him. I know he was here earlier. He probably had something he had to get to because he's being called on quite regularly. Gentlemen, thank you for what you do. We'd love to talk with you about anything or anything the Chamber can do to help and assist you. We're always here. And thank you all for being here, and I hope you can join us for the next Toasted Topics.